Hello lovelies. So in today's video we'll be jumping straight into the tutorial without wasting so much time, because you don't want this video to be longer than it is already. So the first thing I did is to mark a straight line to serve as my starting point, and the line I just marked out is my zipper allowance. So we are cutting the back and the front bodies together. Then from the starting point, I'm going to be going down by 6 inches for my armhole depth for my chest line, and then also marked at 12 inches for my half length. I'm just marking these lines across so that you guys can see it. Allowances will be adding while transfer it to the fabric. So from the zipper allowance, I'm going to be marking half of my shoulder measurement. That's from the first line. I'm going to go ahead and connect it to the chest line. So the first line is our front, should be served as our front body, is where our front body started, and then the other one is for my zipper. So for my neckline, the front neckline, I want it to be high, so I'm marking at 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches, I guess. So I'm making this voice note, I can't remember what I marked there, but I think it's 2.5 by 2.5 or 2.5 by 3.5 by 3 inches. Anyone, just mark the neckline that suits you, or if you can see what I marked in the video, you know what it means. Then the next thing I went to mark is my 1 inch shoulder allowance slope, and I connected it to the neckline. The next thing I did is to mark my back bodies, my back neckline, sorry, which is at about 4 inches, I believe, or 4.5 inches. Then I'm going to see the way I marked it, straight on my zipper allowance. Then I'm going to slant it to meet the front neckline, and so go ahead and mark the same thing as you are doing yours. Then the next thing I did is to insert my bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'm going to go ahead and measure from my bust line to my shoulder slope. Whatever I have there, I divided into 2, make a point, and then from there I'm going to go in by ½ inch. So I'm going to connect the shoulder slope, the ½ inch I went in by, and then my bust measurement divided by 4. Those 3 points is what I connected to make a curve, and then I went ahead to mark my half length, my waist measurement divided by 4. I'm just connecting the line straight. Then I'm going to be inserting my seam allowance as of when cutting this. I added 1.5 inches. You can skip this part and then add it when you are transferring it to your fabric. And that's basically all for this. I'm going to cut out our back bodies first before cutting the front one, so that you can transfer it to our fabric. If you haven't subscribed unto this moment, please take 1 minute to hit on the subscribe button, join the growing families, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and share with family and friends as well. So this is our back bodies. I'm going to go ahead and connect it to and transfer it to my fabric. I've gone ahead to pin this down. So remember, we did not add any stitching allowance at the armhole, the neckline, and then the half length area. So that is what I'm just doing. We're adding ½ inch all around, but our seam side we've already added ½ inch. We already added allowance there. So I just added my allowance in every other part that do not have allowance. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Remember, our fabric is on fold on this while cutting this out. So this is it after I was done cutting this out. I'm just trimming out ½ inch from my center back. We're going to trim out ½ inch from the center back. You slant it to the seam side. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim off my zipper allowance before we proceed to the front part. And I notice here that this is going to affect our neckline. You can just mark our line straight to connect the neckline, but on the second thought, just to avoid confusion, I decided to mark the front bodies separately. So just like we did at the front bodies, I'm going to go ahead and mark a straight line. Then from that straight line, I'm going to mark my chest line at 6 inches, and then half length at 12 inches. Please go ahead and insert your child measurement or your measurement where necessary. Then the next thing I did is to mark half of my shoulder measurement from my center front. And because I'm just marking my front bodice, I'm not marking it from the left side anymore. I hope you understand this. So for my neckline, I'm going to go mark the same neckline I marked at the front onto transfer it to here, and then make a curve for this. And then also mark my shoulder slope. We are just going through the same process in case if you do not understand what we did the previous time. The only difference from the back is the zipper allowance and the neckline. So I went ahead to insert my bust measurement and then insert my half length measurements. So what we did in the front part is to measure the distance between the bust and the necklines, the 1 inch shoulder slope, and then go in by ½ inch there. I'm going to go ahead and connect the 3 points just like we did before. We are just going through that same process again, and that's all for the front bodies. As of this one, I did not add my seam allowance, so I'm going to be doing that when I'm transferring to my fabric. So from my center front, I'm going in at my waistline by 3 inches. Then I measure my armhole, whatever I have there. I'm going to be dividing it into 2. I'll make a point there. So I'm going to connect from the waistline to the bust point with a straight line. I'm just marking the 3 inches there so that it will be as straight as possible. I'm going to mark a straight line there, and then with my curve, or you can use your free hand to do this, I'm going to be connecting to my armhole. What I'm just showing you guys is, if this is for an adult, all you need to do is to take your dart at this point. Take your dart in both sides of the line, and then don't forget to replace it after while cutting to the fabric. But because this is for children, we are not taking in any dart. They don't have bust for us to be cutting dart or bustier for it. So we're going to transfer this to a fabric, and you know our center front is supposed to be the folded part of the fabric, and my fabric is folded into two, sorry. So that's why I flipped my pattern paper to the other side so that I can have my folded part on the center front on the folded part. So I'm just pinning it down, and remember we did not add any allowance, so I'm adding ½ inch all around on the center piece, and then the side piece at this other seam side I'm adding 1.5 inches for seam allowance. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. So for our flay, I'm going to mark this on a paper, then we'll transfer it to our fabric. For this, we are marking 720 flay, and our measurement is 27 inches plus 2 inches allowance for joining. We have 29 inches. So we are dividing by 8 because we are cutting 360 into 2. So I'm dividing into 8, and I have about 3.625. So this is what we are going to be using, and we are cutting it into 2. So we are cutting 360 into 2 to make it 720. We can't cut 720 as they go. So we are cutting 360. And to fold your fabric, we are just assuming that this is my fabric. First thing you do is to fold over and then fold the other side to have a square. So you have a square, and your fabric is going to be folded into 4. So I'm just marking out should serve as my waistline, so that you guys will understand how to fold your fabric when you want to fold it to your fabric. So this is my waistline that I imaginary cut out, and then the length of the flay for the purpose of this tutorial is this. So I went ahead to cut it. So this is 360 flay, small flay. So we are cutting this into 2. Let's assume this is our flay, but the other bigger one is my actual flay, which we are going to be going into the tutorial now. I just did this so that you guys can know how to fold your fabric. So going into the tutorial, we are going to be doing a rough I just use my tape to make a rough guess of where the 3.625 is going to fall into, and that's what I just made there. And I'll start marking point all around the guess line I just marked. When I am done, I'll measure it and see if I have the exact measurement I needed there. And after measuring it, I noticed that is more than what I need, so I reduce it a bit, and I'll make another new point from there. And after I was done with this, I'm going to go ahead and measure this again to make sure that I have the exact measurement I need. And from that line, I'm going to be inserting the length of my flay. So I'm going to be inserting the length of my flay all round, just like we did all round while marking the waist measurement. And I'll connect the line as well. We are not adding our seam allowance there, our stitching allowance there. When we transfer to the fabric, we will add it. So this is my fabric, and I folded it the same way I showed you guys, which made my fabric to be folded into 4. So we are cutting 360 now. When we are done, if you haven't seen the video, the detailed video of flay, of cutting different types of play, please check it out. It's in my channel. I will put it in the description box. So this is my 360-degree flay. We are going to use that and cut another one to make it 70-degree flay. And this is it after I was done cutting it. So I opened the one side of the 2 flays because I'm going to join one to the other one. So this is it. How I'm going to be joining it to the other side, but this is going to happen when I am done prepping the flay for attachment. You don't want to be working with a very long flay fabric. So I'm just showing you guys how it's going to look after cutting it. See how wavy it is even without adding anything to it. So this is how it's going to be. When you're done cutting it. So onto our bodice, the first thing I did is to cut out my lining for it. I'm using the same fabric as lining, but please, if you have your normal lining, please go ahead and use your normal lining or whatever that works for you. But for me, I am using the same fabric to make my lining. It's going to serve as the same lining. I'm just arranging them to make sure I have where I want the other one, all of them to be. And the next thing I'm going to do is to turn the fabric to the right side. So we're working with these pieces first, so they are all turned to the right side. And this fabric is what I wanted to use to give it a little design. I have 1.5 inches for the width, and the length is as long as your design, your pattern. So I'm going to place it in between the center piece and the side piece. I'm going to go ahead and start pinning this down. If you have a more contrasting color, please use it. It's going to pop out more and make it more beautiful, but for me, I do not have. This is what I have. I wish it is a plain yellow it would have been more colorful than this one that has design. So after pinning it down, I'm going to take my center piece and then pin this one down as well, and then go to my sewing machine to stitch it by 1/2 inch that we added all the way from the waist onto the armhole, and I'll repeat the same process for the other side. And then for our lining, we are not adding any design to it. So what I'm going to do is to place the front facing front and then stitch it down. Then for my back bodice, this is going to have sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down just like I showed you now. Then going on to the sleeve, you're going to prep it for attachment. What I did is I've already cut it out. I have a detailed video of how to cut your sleeve. Please check it out. I'm going to also leave it in the description box. So I'm going to go ahead and hem these sleeves. This is our neck back bodice after stitching it down. I just made a notch at that place, at that sharp edge there, and then I'll flip it to the right side, and then I'm going to go ahead and iron this down. Then for my front bodice, you can see I'm done attaching this extra fabric. Is not showing much, but at least it's giving a little bit of design to it. So I'm going to be placing my lining over the front bodice, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch the neckline. You can as well pin it down before stitching. And this is my sleeve. I am done hemming it as well. So this is my neckline. I am done with my front bodice. I am done with the neckline. The next thing I'm going to do is to make a notch all around the neckline. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the right side, arrange it well, then iron it down. So this is my front, my back body and back bodies. I'm going to be doing front facing front. Make sure you arrange your fabric and the zipper allowance is going towards the center and back. I'm going to go ahead and stitch the shoulder, the two shoulders down. For this, I'm going to be using invisible stitches, invisible shoulder line like already made. So all I did is to hold the fabric down and then use the lining to cover it up. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So place the front facing front, then you're going to go to hold onto 3 of the fabrics. That's the 2 front bodies, one of them the back bodies. Then use the lining of the back bodies to cover the fabric. I'm going to repeat it for the back so that you guys can see what I'm trying to say. So you hold it down, then you're going to open your lining and use it to close all the fabric that you open down, then pin it before going to your sewing machine to stitch it down. You can go ahead and do your normal shoulder stitching, that's the front facing front, and just stitch it down like that if you want to. So this is it after I was done stitching. I'm going to flip it over. You see the 2 sides, the front and the back bodies is neat. There's no stitching area showing. This is how you do your ready-made shoulder areas. So what you are going to do is to place these to attach our sleeve, and for this sleeve I'm going to be pinning it from one end of the sleeve area or armhole area to the other end before stitching it down, or you can as well stitch down straight if you want, and I'll do the same thing for the other side. And this is it after I was done stitching it down. The next thing I did is to arrange my fabric front facing front, and then I'm going to stitch it down with my allowance, seam allowance I added from the sleeve all the way to the so this is our flay. I just went ahead to iron a stay on it. This is the softest of them all. You can add a stronger one if you want it more wavy, but this is the one I have available now. That's why I added this. You can add the stronger one, and then if you want it more wavy, please go ahead and add your crinoline. But I do not have crinoline, and I did not bother to buy it because I don't think I need it. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to place my lining at the front of my flay, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch this all the way from one flay end to the other, and I will do the same thing for the other flay. Then after stitching it, all I did is to cut out the excess, and I'm going to go ahead and notch this all around because it's a circle. You want to release any tension there, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the right side. And after doing this, I'm going to hold the excess inside and then stitch it down towards the lining, just like I showed you. So this is it after I was done with everything, and then I ironed this down, and then went ahead to join the two flay together. When you look at it, you see that I've joined it already, and I'm just showing you guys that I have two flays there. You see how you see two full flay? That's what I have there. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up. If you add your crinoline, it will be more wavy than this. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, then open my bodice up. I'm doing front facing front. Where I joined it, I'm going to place it at the center of my bodice and then stitch it all the way from one end to other. I have a little bit of our allowance there, about 1 inch on both sides, so I'm going to plate it into the bodice. This reason for this is so that if there's any need for allowance, I'll see something to adjust it. So after doing that, next thing I did is to close up and attach my zip. You can use your open and close zip like we used to call it here, or your normal zip. And that's all for this type. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Give me a thumbs up and share my videos to family and friends, and I will see you